Alright guys, first of all, this is a good idea to get this stuff done in the morning before stores are open, and make like a dozen of them or something like that before you go out and work. So you can open up your tailgate and just make sure you've got all of your equipment there ready to go. And so the first thing you're going to do here is attach your bracket. Well, really the only thing you're doing here is, you're attaching the bracket to the piece of wood, and you want to make sure that sticker isn't showing in the front. Make sure it's on the bottom, just a little less of an eyesore there. Make sure that that metal plate, that L bracket, is flush against the bottom of the wood, so push it up as far as you can. And then of course you're making sure that it's straight up and down, so you can eye both sides of that piece of wood to make sure it's nice and straight on there. And that's what I'm doing here. And we got our little clamp tool there that keeps it in place for us, so you don't have to hold it and drill at the same time. So I'm putting my 1/4-inch drill bit in there, and I'm going to get my 2 holes. There we go. So once you get your holes, you're going to find your 1.5-inch carriage bolts. They're 1.5 inches long and then 1/4 inch thick. So yeah, put those through the holes. And flip it to the side, and then put your nuts on there. And so you can hand tighten to a certain point, and then you can use your metal cutters, your wire cutters, as pliers. There we go. And you just want to make sure they're nice and snug. Like, we didn't use washers here. I mean, if you want to get washers, that's up to you, but you just want to make sure they're snug, and so that they're not just gonna rattle loose or anything. Alright, so once you got them on there tight, you just take your clamp off, and that piece is good to go. It's on there straight, ready to go. So like I said, oh boy, just magically appeared. Yeah, so you've got your L's there, and so you go in the store and get your face shield, and you can bring it back to the truck. And you want to make sure to do one side at a time, and you want to start, I'd start with the bottom corner here, and you want to make sure it's flush at the top of the wood there, which I did make sure of that. And we changed to a magnetic Phillips bit for these, because, well, the type of screws you're using are usually going to be a Phillips, and these were. So there, I'm just making sure, yep, top's nice and level with the piece of wood. And I'm screwing from the bottom up, and the reason why is because if you go from bottom to top, oftentimes the plexi will bubble up in the middle when you put those middle screws in. And so you don't want that. You want it to be on there as straight as possible. So you start with one end and work your way up. And again, just making sure that the plastic is flush at the top. And it appears to be. So we got our left side finished there. And I put my screws more toward the outside, just to keep that plastic more pinned down against the wood. And one other reason why, so we're putting that plastic on the front side. One reason why is because this pine, the wood we're using, sometimes it has resin, basically like sap, and it's pretty sticky, and so that plastic will cover it up so that customers don't get their hands on it and get all sticky. So again, yep, starting at the bottom here and working my way up, and I'm making sure there's enough tension between the two sides so that it's not loose. And of course you can just make sure the plastic on the outside edge is flush with the wood, even. And working my way up again, you know, just checking that top edge, making sure it's level. And I'm putting 4 screws in each side. You can, I'd say 4 is a minimum. You could even do 5, but 4 seems to work pretty well. And you just want to space them, you know, fairly evenly. Not rocket science or anything, but you don't want them all spread out too much. So we have our piece there that is ready to install, and so you can you'll take those 2 back in, because usually these Family Dollars just have 2 stalls, and you're going to swap your drill to that 1/4 inch hex bit, and then use your screws there that have the washers on them. They're 1 inch, and those are going to screw directly into the counter, and you will not have to drill pilot holes unless you just really want to. So yeah, pretty straightforward.